This episode is brought to you by Oddmo's Pizza in Canby. Handmade awesome pizza plus craft beer, wine, and cider. Delivered. Call them today at 503-263-8444.
Welcome to Now Hear This Canby,
your source for news.
The threat of a possible teacher strike was avoided this week.
There's a new, irresistibly cute creature winning over fans, and its name is Scootaloo.
Sports?
It's like Lucy in the football. You want to kick a field goal, if they take it away from you.
We had to learn how to win.
Goal can't be in the last second of the game!
And interesting conversations.
Because I'm one of the strongest girls ever, and I know that for a fact.
I just really enjoy writing gossip as if I was a bear.
With an old maid daughter that make the best moonshine in the coast.
And if it would have hit me in the face, I think I would have died. I really do.
I guarantee you would have died, man. Are you kidding me?
Well, you were right, Canby. It was Amazon. The massive warehouse and distribution center proposed for a 47-acre lot in Canby Industrial Park was widely believed to be destined for the internet retail giant, mainly because of its size and destination for, quote, e-commerce use. And though developers maintained that they were working with several potential tenants, the rumor was so widely believed that some locals began referring to the project, officially known by the codename Canby South, as the Amazon building. Amazon made the announcement Friday that the facility will serve as a new sorting center for the retail giant's operations opening in 2023. More than 500 new employees will help sort and ship packages at the 517,000 square foot facility for final delivery to customers. In a press release, Canby Mayor Brian Hodson said he looks forward to the future of building a relationship with Amazon, calling it an innovative company which will have long-term impacts in our community through new jobs, revenues, and growth that will help working families across our region. For its part, Amazon, through a spokesperson, said it is excited to expand its operations network to Canby area in order to best serve customers in the region, saying the project will create new jobs, economic investment in the Canby community. Amazon offers an average starting wage of $18 per hour, along with comprehensive benefits for full-time employees from day one, worth an additional $3.5 per hour. The Canby Planning Commission approved the project at a meeting in late June following lengthy discussion that spanned more than 2 hours. While both commission members and neighboring property owners expressed concerns about the size of the project and its impact on the community, particularly traffic and the primarily rural, unimproved roads that would serve it, only 2 commissioners ultimately voted against it. Initially presented as a speculative project with no confirmed end user, the original warehouse and distribution center would have been even larger, covering 683,000 square feet, with plans for a future expansion of 107,000 more. The revised design puts it more on par with nearby Columbia Distributing, which opened its 530,000 square feet beverage warehouse and distribution facility on South Malino Road last year, previously the largest industrial project in Canby history by far. Because the design preferred by Amazon deviates significantly from the approved version, the project will be in review again by city staff and the Canby Planning Commission. The meeting date has not yet been announced. Earlier this summer, Amazon announced plans for a 5-story, 3.84 million square foot fulfillment center in Woodburn, one of the largest buildings in all of Oregon. A local fire chief who called the governor's vaccine mandate for healthcare workers and the first responders un-American and said he would sooner be fired than enforce it elaborated on his position during an Aurora Fire board meeting Wednesday. Aurora Fire Chief Joshua Williams said he has received comments from all over the county since releasing a statement opposing the vaccine mandate, which was first reported by the Canby Current. On Wednesday, Williams argued the vaccine mandate is unnecessary, citing the fact that Aurora firefighters have safely responded to emergency calls for the past 18 months without endangering themselves or the community. When this political storm blows over, the chief said, these same people will continue to respond out safely and treat our public well and do the job best that we can. Williams said he fully supports his firefighters' decisions to get vaccinated, even going as far as to offer to drive them to their appointment if they wish. He also made clear that he does not know what the future holds for himself or anyone else who refused to follow the mandate requiring first responders to be fully vaccinated. I just cannot bring myself to fire an employee or a volunteer that's been working safely for the past 18 months, Williams concluded. Whether you like that or not, that's how I feel. The board ultimately voted to table its discussion of the vaccine mandate until its next meeting, October 20th, which is 2 days after the governor's mandate takes effect. Williams is also a plaintiff in the federal lawsuit asserting the state has no standing to force its COVID-19 vaccine mandates upon individuals because they already have natural immunity to the virus. The petition states that Williams fell ill in early January 2021 and subsequently tested positive for COVID-19. His attorney stated that he followed testing and quarantine protocols and is now fully recovered from the virus. Because he is fully recovered from COVID-19, Mr. Williams has acquired robust natural immunity, the petition said. Based on his natural acquired immunity, it is medically unnecessary for Mr. Williams to undergo a vaccination procedure at this point, which fact also renders the procedure and any attendant risks medically unethical. It's time to reckon with the increasingly toxic rhetoric and behavior sometimes seen on local social media pages and groups, Canby residents and leaders say, after a city councilor's child was identified and publicly shamed on Facebook last week, leading to in-person stalking and harassment. Several councilors and residents addressed the incident at Wednesday's city council meeting, including the child's father, Councilor Sarah Spoon's ex-husband, Ty Spoon.
I'm not a political person. I've never been here before. I'm not here today because of Sarah. I am here because of my child. It is completely ridiculous that I need to be here, to be honest. I thought we were better. I thought we were adults. For adults to do this to a child is ridiculous. I know that the council all has children. I don't know how many of you listening at home have children. But imagine, if you will, your 13-year-old being followed by an adult, being filmed, being told things, being put online, and having those same adults and other adults make comments about them. They're kids. It's hard enough to be a kid already. You are dragging them into shit that is not their fight.
The post that prompted Wednesday's public comments appeared in Kids First at Canby Schools, a private Facebook group that local attorney and former city councilor Tyler Smith started earlier this year to pressure the district to reopen schools from the COVID-19 pandemic. It now claims to advocate, share ideas, and work to keep the focus on being open and putting the kids first in Canby schools. The post included a photo of the teen and alleged that they had pulled down a yard sign with an anti-mask message. It also claimed the police had responded to the incident. Retired Canby school teacher Kathleen Jetsky was shocked by both the original post and that a number of the group's members participated in the shaming, including prominent citizens.
I was a teacher for 30 years, so I know lots of naughty things that lots of kids have done, and none of those kids were bad kids. Kids make mistakes. They all do, and it's the job of adults to teach them to do better. So why do we have adults, including even some city leaders, in a forum where not only do they not speak up and intervene when a child's being bullied, but some even participate by making or liking rude comments about the child and the child's parents? What in the world is wrong with an adult who would do that to a child?
David Bajoran, a 13-year veteran of the U.S. Coast Guard and current reserves member, also did not mince words Wednesday night.
My wife Jocelyn and I moved to Canby and bought our first house here because we thought it was a charming place with good amenities, close to family, and a place we could afford to settle into as our kids started reaching school age. The more I see of Canby, the more disheartened I become. I have to be blunt about it. I didn't sacrifice 13 years of bodily harm for the good of others to watch my chosen home fall into chaos and division. I didn't sacrifice 13 years to watch my kids be put at risk by the irresponsibility of others. I didn't sacrifice 13 years to watch bullying tactics take over both on the individual level and at the official level. We all have a responsibility to do better. We have to. We owe it to our kids to leave things better than we found them.
Reading a prepared statement, Councillor Spoon did not speak about the incident directly, but what she sees as a larger trend of online bullying and toxicity. It's time to take a stand, she said. The harassment and bullying I see online is no longer just obnoxious or annoying. It's becoming reckless and dangerous. There is a consistent and clear pattern of escalation in our community's online bullying. Private citizens are attacking each other, and now children have been targeted, weaponized, doxxed, outed, and attacked. Spoon said she believes Canby's leaders, including herself, have failed the citizenry by not calling it out sooner, and said other communities are facing similar existential crises. Her colleagues on the council were supportive, saying that kids and families are off limits. No exceptions. Our kids, our families, leave them alone, Councillor Sean Varwig said. You can hate me all you want. You can say what you want about me, but don't mess with my kids because Papa Bear will come out. A group of Canby firefighters is in line to receive the Distinguished Conduct Award from the Oregon Fire Chiefs Association next week in recognition of their extraordinary courage and service during the historic Labor Day wildfires that ravaged Clackamas County in September of 2020. 9 Canby firefighters have been selected to receive this honor for their efforts on September 7th and 8th, 2020 in combating the massive blaze that broke out on Unger Road in Colton. Canby crews were dispatched to the area at approximately 10:30 September 7th to assist the Colton volunteers. Most of the Canby personnel had already spent hours fighting large wildfires in the Molalla area earlier that night. Canby Fire Chief Jim Davis was on the scene and serving as incident commander for Canby. He reported that the blaze on Unger Road was burning through approximately 1 acre of heavy brush and vegetation, and that it had gone vertical with fire overhead and the canopy of the trees. Canby Fire Division Chief Matt English arrived with additional units from Colton Fire to aid the evacuation. Within the first hour of response, crews managed to evacuate more than 30 homes and helped to get everyone to safe locations with no injuries or deaths. Davis set up the incident command on Unger Road and requested as many units as possible to assist, up to a 5-alarm statewide mobilization and air support. But due to the historic wildfires breaking out all over the state, there was no help available. The firefighters grappled with heavy fire conditions, falling trees, and downed power lines, assuming enormous risk to themselves while saving lives and protecting property. The crews were on for more than 24 hours without rest until replacements were available late on the afternoon of September 8th, Davis said. Unger Road would eventually become part of the Riverside Complex fire, which ravaged hundreds of thousands of acres in the Clackamas County.
Now hear this. Sports is brought to you by Reif & Hunsaker PC. When you need an attorney, turn to the firm Canby has trusted for over 50 years. Call them today at 503-266-3456. One issue has plagued the 5th-ranked Canby Cougar football team as they face the 2 top 10 opponents to start the season: consistency. Against Dallas and West Albany, both non-league contests, Canby head coach Jim Joyce's squad managed to only combine 40 points. So it's no surprise that Joyce, a longtime offensive coordinator in Beaverton, was pleased as punch after Saturday's game saw that the Cougars ran away with North Salem in their league opener, blasting the Vikings 42-13. The game was staged on Saturday due to shortage of officials, according to Canby Athletics. Canby needed just 1 minute and 3 plays to get on the board to start the barn burner, and the high-powered Cougar offense kept humming all night. Canby's performance Saturday night was a masterclass in offensive efficiency, with the Cougars scoring 6 touchdowns in their first 7 drives. Senior quarterback Mikey Gibson led the way, going 11 for 15 for 224 yards, with 3 touchdowns and no interceptions, in one of the finest performances of his Canby football career. On the ground, the dynamic duo of Bryce Oliver and Tyler Conold finished with a combined 163 yards rushing and 4 touchdowns. The win vaults Canby's record 2-1 overall and 1-0 in the league play. After 2 consecutive home games, the Cougs make the 1-hour trek to St. Helens for a Friday game. Kickoff time is 7 p.m. In volleyball action, the Cougars fell in straight sets to both the Timberwolves and Lions after netting their first win of the season against Tigard the previous week. A Monday game against Tualatin saw the Cougs rally from an early deficit to take a 14-12 lead in their first set. Junior Carly Lewis stepped up to serve, delivered an ace, and led Canby on to a 5-0 run. Tualatin is able to counter, however, and finish the set on a 7-1 run to win. After a tough start to the year, the Canby youth movement has gained some experience and are now showing steady improvement. The Cougs returned home from a long, full-day tournament on Saturday where they finished as the runner-up in a field of 11 teams. It was a rough week for Canby soccer as well, as the boys continued their brutal stretch of opponents to begin the season with tough losses against Lakeridge and Tualatin this week. The boys fell to the Pacers 6-1 on the road before dropping one against the Timberwolves 5-2. To say that Canby boys soccer has had a tough schedule to open the season would be a dramatic understatement. The Cougars' first 4 opponents, McKay, Southridge, Lakeridge, and Tualatin, have a combined record of 17-3-2. As for girls soccer, the Cougs face LaSalle Prep and Sunset this week, dropping both games. On Monday, the Cougars fell to LaSalle 4-1 before losing to Sunset 0-4 on Wednesday. Through their first 4 games of the season, the Canby girls have struggled to convert chances into points, scoring only 3 goals, the 3rd lowest in 6A. First-year head coach Roberto Maestretti and the Cougs will hope to be able to reverse trend and road games against Liberty and Forest Grove next week.
Are you a healthcare hero? Do you want to become one? Are you looking for a position where you are valued, your time is your own, and you have ample opportunity for growth? Marquee Companies at Hope Village in Canby, Oregon offers all of that and more. They are currently hiring nurses, caregivers, CNAs, and enrolling students in their free CNA course. From competitive wages and up to $25,000 tuition reimbursement to flexible schedules and the opportunity to make a positive impact on someone's life, Marquee at Hope Village is the right place for you. Take your career to the next level and apply now to become a valued team member at Marquee at Hope Village in Canby. To learn more or apply today, text CURRENT, that's CURRENT, to 888-906-3432.
Over 70 years ago, a seed was planted in the rich, fertile soil of North Canby. The seed was Swan Island dahlias, and today it has blossomed and grown into the largest leading dahlia grower on planet Earth. Family-owned and operated, Swan Island is one of Oregon's premier agro-tourism destinations, boasting 375 varieties and 40 acres of gorgeous blooms. A sea of color that is among the most jaw-dropping and unforgettable sights in the entire Pacific Northwest. While their fields and annual Dahlia Festival justifiably get a lot of attention, Swan Island has a lot of amenities you may not know about. Their selection of gifts, gardening supplies, and other unique finds is among the most expansive in Canby area, and their fresh-cut flower shop is always worth stopping for. This summer, Swan Island is featuring a rotating menu of delicious food trucks Thursday through Sunday and a wide variety of fun classes for all interests and ability levels. The Dahlia Farm will also be hosting a local farmers market every Friday and live music shows through September. Swan Island and their amazing dahlia fields are open 6 days a week, 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m., closed Wednesdays. For class registration, concert schedule, or more information, visit dahlias.com or follow Swan Island Dahlias on Facebook and Instagram. Attention hunters! The Canby Rod and Gun Club will be opening their 100-yard rifle range to the general public and club members later this month to give hunters and sportsmen the opportunity to ensure their firearms are properly sighted in before the hunting season kicks off. This year's sight-in days will be from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. the last 2 weekends in September, the 18th, 19th, 25th, and 26th. The cost is $5 per gun and $1 per chamber flag, which is refundable upon return. The Canby Rod and Gun Club provides the range officers, targets, experienced spotters, and coaches at each firing point to help with the sighting-in process. The Canby Rod and Gun Club is located about a mile southeast of Canby on the Molalla Forest Road. Maps and more information are available at canbyrodandgun.org. No reservation necessary. Happy hunting.
Joining us in the Canby Conversation today is State Representative and House Minority Leader Christine Drazan. Welcome back.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's good to be back.
How are you doing?
You know, I'm doing really well. This lovely fall we've been having is a boost.
Yeah, it is nice to have a nice fall, especially after last year. So
yes, I welcome the rain, though. I understand that's coming, so that'll be good, too.
Yeah, absolutely, this weekend. So we're coming into a special session, and the big task is going to be redistricting statewide. I know that even just that word, some people are probably like groaning, like it's one of those words that's like just sounds governmenty and boring, but it's so important.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us why you think it's so important, and just tell us a little bit about this process, because it's an unusual redistricting that we're going into as well.
Yeah, it has been quite a year. So the census was done during COVID 2020, which meant that we received back the census numbers late, and the legislature is responsible once every 10 years for redrawing political lines. And we don't do this for fun. We do this to rebalance one person, one vote. And the state has grown and changed, and with that, population has shifted.
Yeah.
So some districts were represented by a state representative or a member of Congress that ended up being smaller, and others grew substantially in population.
Yeah.
So our job, the term redistricting, is actually just a term that reflects we need to redraw political boundaries for both our state legislature, House and Senate, and Congress.
Yeah.
And so having the data back from the Census Bureau late meant that we got special approval from the Supreme Court to work on this after the session ended, past all of the previous constitutional deadlines, and we have until September the 27th to get the job done legislatively. And little known fact, the legislature has only successfully adopted lines for this process twice in the last century.
Oh, wow.
So
100
years of failure and 2 sessions.
So what happens if they don't?
Of success. If they don't get the job done, it goes to the Oregon Secretary of State for the legislature.
Okay.
And for the congressional lines, it goes to a 5-judge panel.
Okay.
So 1 judge from each of our current congressional districts, and they get to reapportion the congressional seats, and the Secretary of State will do the work for the legislature. Now, we have in Oregon's statutes some guidelines, some requirements, and all of that creates really clear parameters for how this job is done. And so there's federal law around the Voting Rights Act, and then there's state statute. So we have to do this right. We have to have a certain number of public hearings, and thankfully we've had really robust public input. And it's interesting because I will talk to people in the community and I'll say, redistricting is coming, please get involved, it really matters.
Yeah.
And I gave a brief few minutes in front of the city council, and the thing about it was people would reach out to me and say, I know I care. I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
And I would just say what we need in the legislature to do a good job is to understand how it is you live your life, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
We need to establish who are communities of common interest, which means that while we're looking for 70,621 people to put into one district, we really need to be able to figure out how we can give folks the best possible chance of being fairly represented based on their input.
Yeah.
Not what I think, not what somebody else attributes to a group of people, but what they tell us.
Yeah.
So how do you live your life? You know, is your school district super important as a community of common interest?
Yeah.
Is it your city boundaries? You know, is it your county?
When you put it that way, Christine, it just kind of hits home. You use the word failure, but what a failure it is when this process, there's already the difficulty of one representative of 70,000 some people trying to gather input, but when now you've got 4 million and it's just the Secretary of State, in Salem trying to figure it out. There's just no way that they can make informed decisions about some of these cases. So,
and leading into this session, I've been a strong proponent of a nonpartisan independent commission to do this work.
Yeah.
And they have that in a majority of other states at this point. It's a growing movement to take this responsibility out of the hands of elected legislators
who have a vested interest.
We're talking about people who are currently serving in elected office, defining where their next service will be.
Right.
And in a state like Oregon, where you have one party in control of both chambers of the legislature and the governor's office and the Secretary of State's office, the tendency for Oregon is at high risk for partisan gerrymandering based on all national analysis of our state right now.
Yeah.
And that makes it even more important that when the public steps up and speaks up, that we listen.
Yeah.
Because this is not about whether or not Republicans get elected. It's not about whether or not Democrats get elected.
Yeah.
It's about whether or not Oregonians can choose their own legislator.
Yeah.
Even though the lines are being drawn inside the building.
Yeah.
The only way we get that done is if we listen.
Yeah.
And not listen for what we want to hear, but actually say, okay, there's no such thing as a perfect legislative map.
Yeah.
There's going to be areas that are imperfect.
Right.
Because we have to follow jurisdictional lines. We need to pay attention to geographic boundaries. We need to not jump mountains, things like that. That's important.
Right.
And the districts have to be contiguous. And so all of these things come into play when you are trying to rebalance out population. But the most important thing, to me, is communities of common interest.
Yeah.
Not most important, obviously, population. Technically is the reason we're doing this.
Right.
But behind that is this idea of communities of common interest, because that's how you are actually being responsive to whether or not people are going to feel well served.
Yeah.
So that's the work. And right now we have had a tough process, if I'm being honest about it. The Democrat presiding officers told me early on that when it comes to the congressional maps, unfortunately, there would be no discussion. And they were, in their words, locked down by D.C. And that is not going to serve the state. So we did 12 public hearings.
By the Democratic Party in Washington?
I have to assume so.
Okay.
They said, they said that their folks were locked down and it was above their pay grade and things like that.
Yeah.
So the language was soft, but clear.
Yeah.
And so that left us with all of these hours of public testimony, much of which was about the congressional maps.
Right. Because and I don't think we mentioned yet, we're getting a new representative.
Yeah. And so it's very, very important.
So it's not even just shifting the lines, but we got to figure out how to put in a new one in there.
And so everybody's feeling like they have an opinion about how that new seat will be drawn.
Yeah.
Because it affects everything.
Right.
Everything's going to shift this time. And since everything is shifting this time, it had been my expectation that public comment was going to be especially important.
Yeah.
And yet, the maps that are being forwarded for consideration on Monday didn't change a single line. They are identical to the original maps which were drawn, which were analyzed by Willamette Week and the Oregonian and Oregon Public Broadcasting, I believe, and others, and were identified as clear gerrymanders on behalf of our state. And that doesn't reflect the electorate as a whole. If you look at statewide races in Oregon, Mostly we're not talking presidential, we're
Right.
talking statewide governor, secretary of state. The winning candidate will get between 50.3 and say 54% of the vote. The makeup of the congressional districts they're talking about is like 86% representation for one party.
Yeah.
And that just doesn't serve our state accurately.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, those are the indications as well from analysis of the legislative side maps too that are coming forward.
Yeah.
That instead of coming closer to how Oregon tends to participate in their civic life,
Yeah.
it continues to go further down the path of single party power. And it's interesting to me, I saw something where someone was saying, I'm so frustrated with Republicans in other states like gerrymandering.
Right.
And then they say, but here in Oregon we have to protect our position.
Right.
And
Kind of funny. Yeah.
And I just feel like, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. There's no gerrymandering that serves the public.
Yeah.
I don't care who's doing it. It's wrong.
Hi, I'm Megan Waterman. I'm the owner and operator of the Book Nook in Canby, Oregon.
And I'm Tyler Clausen of Now Hear This Canby, the show you're listening to. Megan, the Book Nook is one of my favorite places in all of Canby. It's a one-stop shop for gifts, board games, new books, used books, and books from local authors. Why did you decide to open it?
Well, I love the power of a story. I love how reading about different people and places, times, stretches my mind. It makes me see the world differently, whether that's a fantasy story or a biography. It all changes the lens that I see and how I interact with people. The reason that we added games to our store is for that same reason. It's just a different way to experience story through gameplay.
And along with the new selection, you're at a new location, right?
We are. We just moved, technically just across the intersection to the old Parsons building. We've expanded our space and also our selection. So we've got more books, more gifts. We added a larger gaming section. And now with the world opening back up a little bit more, we're starting to relaunch some of our events. We have relaunched our general fiction and our fantasy book clubs, and those are going great. And we're about ready to kick off game nights, starting with our beginner Dungeons and Dragons camp, led by Canby's very own Tyler Clausen.
Hey, that's me! If you're interested in D&D, make sure you stop by the Book Nook and get more information about role-playing opportunities there.
Yeah, or stop by anytime and chat with one of our booksellers about their current book recommendations and let us help you find your next favorite read. We're now open on Sundays as well, so we're there 7 days a week.
Nice. The Book Nook is in downtown Canby or online at booknookcanby.com. Now Hear This Canby is produced by me, Tyler Clausen. Our content director and star reporter is Tyler Frankie. And of course, our show is edited by Cameron Clausen. We also feature the vocal talents of Joy Struby and James Walden. So a round of applause to them. The song that you're hearing right now is Canby by singer-songwriter Olivia Harms, used with her permission. To find more work from her, you can visit her website, olivia13.com.
Now Hear This Canby is dedicated to preserving independent local journalism and redefining local news with our fun, fresh, and energetic brand of storytelling. Our sincere thanks to our local sponsors who make this show possible. Please show your appreciation by supporting the small businesses who support us.
The production of Now Hear This Studios, Canby's locally owned full-service audio, video, and media production company. Our mission is to produce the best content in the universe, and we'd love to help you do it. Find us online at nhtstudios.com.
I will take a motion to adjourn.
I just moved it.
I didn't even ask for it, though.
And now, a message from Donna Ellison of Ellison Team Homes.
Hi, everyone. I wanted to take this moment to invite you personally to come and hang out with us for our end of season client event. It's a thank you to all the wonderful people we've done business with, as well as a welcome to a lot of our community. I'm doing this in partnership with Vanessa Zimmerman team at Academy Mortgage. It's just kind of our way of saying thank you. We've really enjoyed getting to know you, doing business with you, etc. We'll be outside. We're sensitive to the fact that we're in COVID, still dealing with that. So it will be spread out. People will have room to breathe and sit and walk and talk. Reckless Company, if you've never heard them before, they're awesome. They're going to be playing. We'll have TMK here. I can't wait to try the corn dog. I've been waiting like 2 years to try this corn dog. So it looks amazing, and I've heard it's amazing, and I think there's quite a following. Also, they'll have all kinds of other food. We'll have beer and cider. Everything's hosted, of course, as a thank you. Again, it's for our clients. It's for our community. We really, really want to come and celebrate. We'll have swag for you, all kinds of fun things for the kids. We hope to see you on 9/16 from 4 to 8 in the afternoon.
And just to be clear, when you say 86%, we're talking this is all of the Republican voters sort of crammed into the one that has to exist in Oregon, or
so you get one frontier district,
right,
and everything else
everything else is more competitive, but
it's actually not competitive. It all kind of pizza slices its way out of Portland.
Okay,
and so they are hard Democrat seats because they overwhelmed it.
Let's go back to what you said you've been pushing for, which is an independent, nonpartisan commission. I really like the idea of that. I've seen it in other states as well. I'm opposed to the gerrymandering in all of its forms, as we talked to
as
in
are
other
a majority
states.
of Oregonians.
Yeah. So what is the pushback to that? I mean, is Democrats say, "Oh no, we can be unbiased," or
right? So
I mean, what is the legitimate pushback to that?
I don't believe there is legitimate pushback to that.
Okay.
I believe that it's
self-serving.
It's a critical political year for people who are gaining a seat in our state, and it's the wrong time to release power.
Right.
And unfortunately,
the other states that have gained a seat are Republican controlled, and I think that there's they're going to do it, so we have to.
And so they feel, and like I said, that has been the sentiment I've heard. Like, well, we have to protect our own here.
Yeah.
And that reasoning just doesn't hold up anywhere.
Yeah.
And so, but the interesting thing for me is I am on the Redistricting Committee, which is 3-3, and we worked really hard to be in a position to have that opportunity in hopes that we get fair maps that we could support. I felt like that was the best way.
That was a compromise.
It was a hard-fought compromise, and we got there. But in exchange for that, I am no longer allowed to speak in support of the Independent Redistricting Commission. They, felt like they could tell me that if I served on that role, I could no longer advocate for any other option. And so for now, I historically reference my sponsorship of HJR 7, which would have created an Independent Redistricting Commission and referred it out to the people, which the Democrats refused to hold a hearing on.
Okay, so
that's historic.
Refer to Christine Drazan circa 2019.
Yeah, 2020. right. That's early 2019.
Early 2019. Okay, fair enough.
We do what we can.
Yeah. Okay, so where are we at right now in the process? And
we go into session Monday.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's right around the corner.
Yeah. And at that point, are there still opportunities for people to be involved, or you're just watching at that point?
I keep using this term I'm pushing for, but I have asked for additional public hearings. So now that there have been maps posted, OregonLegislature.gov/redistricting is where you can find the maps that are going to be under consideration on Monday.
Okay.
And they might be hard to access to really understand what you're looking at. There is like a PDF, but if you really want to dive in and see streets and things like that, you have to click on the link that is a little bit more interactive. It's called Esri.
Okay.
So I apologize for how technical that is, but that'll give you more detailed information if you really are kind of want to nerd out on this stuff.
Yeah, so look for that. It's ESRI.
ESRI, yeah. And also related to that, I am asking for public hearings on this newly released maps. I mean, the congressional maps are the same, but there have been some minor adjustments made in the House and Senate maps.
Okay.
And it's important that the public has an opportunity, like you would with any other piece of legislation, before we move ahead in a session, that they get the chance to comment and provide final feedback in hopes that we can take one more shot at trying to be responsive to public input.
Yeah. Is it a little surprising to you that this issue, even in our current times, is sort of flying under the radar in the way that it is? I mean, we're so politically polarized and politically charged, and there's so much motivation that we haven't seen, good or bad, or whatever you want to call it. But people are highly motivated to engage in politics right now, but we don't see it around this issue, which is really important and really partisan. Is that a little surprising to you?
I think it is.
Because you're so confusing and inaccessible.
I think it's inaccessible.
Yeah.
I think it's inaccessible. And while we did have, more than 300 people provided testimony by, online.
Yeah.
And more than 1,000 people submitted written testimony, and that's all been analyzed by my staff and reviewed by me. And as far as House Republicans, we submitted an initial map, and after we received feedback from the public, we substantially changed a whole bunch of it.
Yeah.
And, resubmitted that and said, this would be our revised approach now that we've heard from the public. And so, but I do think redistricting barely has meaning. And what is, I think, more meaningful than the term itself is this idea that you may have lived in a district where when you voted, you felt like you could cast your ballot for someone who you supported, that you felt like aligned with your values or your, philosophy. And a gerrymander map cheats you of that.
Yeah.
And that's hard to understand what's coming and to really know how to push back and fight against it.
Yeah.
There are other public policy issues where you can say, you're mandating a vaccine. Someone in their family can immediately understand what that might mean for them.
Right.
Or you're going to increase taxes on a particular business category.
Yeah.
Somebody can immediately understand what that means.
Yeah.
But if you say the next 10 years of your life as a citizen in Oregon might actually be predetermined, and you will not, in fact, be able to advance any public policy issues that you care about because it's possible that the representation that you really need is out of reach.
Yeah.
That is harder to wrap your head around.
Yeah.
And it's harder for people to really understand what the impacts of that are.
Yeah.
But it matters.
Yeah.
It's one of the most important things we do.
Yeah. 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 Well, I think that you've done a good job for kind of explaining it. Like I said, I'm with you. I think that we need to figure out some way. Looks like it's not going to happen this round. But some way to fix this because it's not the way it's done in a lot of other places where they have democratic representation. I remember watching a documentary one time where so somebody was brought some people from England and was kind of showing them around the State House or whatnot and explaining. I think they were redistricting at the time, and they were befuddled by it. That's so weird that you have the term, and you sometimes hear this redistricting, but it's politicians picking their voters instead of voters
picking their politicians.
Yeah, and they're just that's weird.
It is weird. And hopefully this will be the last time we do it.
Yeah.
Hopefully we will change and reform this process.
Yeah.
I think it is very broken.
Yeah.
And it's not just broken in our state. It's broken anywhere where you have an imbalance of power.
Right.
And the people in power have the unique opportunity to cement that power for a decade.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and maybe it just has to, I would love for Oregon to be a leader in it, but if it is this sort of tit for tat type thing, maybe we just need to deal with this as a nation, and sort of take it out of the state's hands and just make it fair. I mean, that's all we're asking for.
Everybody just deserves fairness.
Yeah.
Just give me a fair shot.
Yeah.
And then voters get to choose, and we'll have the kind of state that they choose.
Yeah.
But when you kind of rig the system in advance, they're not actually choosing. Their choices, in fact, are preset given kind of how the population is drawn.
Right.
But
stacking the deck.
But you know what? Ballot measures are out there.
Yeah.
It's possible we might get this as a ballot measure. We might get to reform this yet.
Okay.
So hopefully this will be a cautionary tale and we can fix it.
Awesome. Well, we got a couple more minutes. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with folks or that you think
thank you.
People should know about?
So I would like to say that for folks that over the course of this last year and a half have reached out to my office and have asked and have worked with us, whether or not it was employment benefits or, challenges with getting their license renewed at the DMV or, you know, whatever it might have been. That, I just want to remind people that's what I am here for. And when we're in session, I'm voting up and down on legislation, and there's lots of ways to reach out to me and get in touch with me.
Yeah.
But outside of that, the work is to be a voice on behalf of this community in front of government, you know, for businesses, for individuals, for families, that in some cases you just need something untangled.
Yeah.
You know, and it's gotten a little complicated and you need an advocate.
Yeah.
And that's the other part of the job.
Yeah.
So if anyone needs help interacting with government, state government in particular, obviously not federal. My office number is 503-986-1439, and you can always connect with me at rep.christinedrazan@oregonlegislature.gov.
Awesome. Representative Drazan, thanks so much for being on the show today. Really appreciate you. Thanks for all your work that you're doing for us.
Thanks for having me.
Tyler, did you know that the Australian lyrebird can mimic any sound that it hears, even chainsaws?
No, that's super interesting.
Did you know that a baby puffin is called a puffling? Or that baby sea otters can't swim, so their moms wrap them up in pieces of kelp until they learn how to paddle?
Wait, do you know any trivia that isn't like animal related?
Not really, but here's some stuff you may not know about the Wild Hare Saloon, where Canby goes to eat and have fun.
Okay.
The Wild Hare is one of Canby's longest running locally owned restaurants. Owners Joan and Darren Moden have been in business for 16 years.
That's cool.
Yeah, heck, you were just a baby back then.
Wait, what?
And they love to give back. They've been members of the Canby Chamber for that long, and they donate over $20,000 to local sports, FFA programs, and civic organizations each year.
Wow, I'm legitimately caught off. That's cool.
Yeah, they also support more than 30 jobs in the community through their award-winning staff, some of them as young as 18. Hey, that's older than you are.
Dude, I'm 10 months younger than you.
With the days getting longer and the weather getting warmer, the Canby Wild Hare's expansive outdoor patio is the place to be. Furry friends welcome.
Well, that sounds great. I'm going to go check them out just off of Highway 99E next to the Space Age in Canby at 1656 Beaver Creek Road in Oregon City, or on their website at thewildharesaloon.net.
Hey, Frankie, what are you doing?
I'm trying to figure out how to switch to a different TV provider now that DirectLink is ending its video services as of January 2022. It is so confusing. Did you know there are about 48 million streaming services now? Which devices do they work on? What channels do they offer?
No, I did not know that. But you do realize that if you have their easy video service now, you're already using a streaming service, right? But listen, you don't have to go this alone. DirectLink is actually helping members transition to their next video provider, offering an extensive informational website and live tutorials on alternative solutions, and even providing direct assistance to members who need it.
Wait, they're actively helping their members switch to a competing service? Who does that?
Well, DirectLink does, I guess. It's just one more chapter in their long history of caring service in Canby and wanting the best for our community. They've actually offered free community classes to teach their members about the latest technology and internet security practices for the past 12 years. That's not even to mention the popular bingo game they organized to help keep homebound members entertained and connected over the winter and fall, and extending free and reduced internet connections for Canby school kids learning from home during the pandemic, or their partnership with the city of Canby to implement free Wi-Fi at 3 local parks.
Whoa, DirectLink does all that?
Well, they do indeed, and that's on top of providing the best and most reliable internet service in town, with the intent to cover everywhere with fiber optic technology in the next few years. In fact, you can learn more about DirectLink services or how they can help you transition to the right video service provider for your home. You can go to directlink.co-op today.
Now Hear This Canby is produced by me, Tyler Clausen. Our content director and star reporter is Tyler Frankie. And of course, our show is edited by Cameron Clausen. We also feature the vocal talents of Joyce Struby and James Walden, so a round of applause to them. The song that you're hearing right now is Canby by singer-songwriter Olivia Harms, used with her permission. To find more work from her, you can visit her website olivia13.com.
Now Hear This Canby is dedicated to preserving independent local journalism and redefining local news with our fun, fresh, and energetic brand of storytelling. Our sincere thanks to our local sponsors who make this show possible. Please show your appreciation by supporting the small businesses who support us.
The production of Now Hear This Studios, Canby's locally owned full-service audio, video, and media production company. Our mission is to produce the best content in the universe, and we'd love to help you do it. Find us online at nhtstudios.com.
I will take a motion to adjourn.
I just moved it.
I didn't even ask for it, though.